I believe I just saw Gabriela come in. Chanel, how many people are we missing from this committee? Is she there? Does anybody know how many people we missing here? Like, what is it, 6 people, 7 people?
I thought we were 7, but I'm not 100% sure.
All I know is Mariella Graham is she left the board because she's an educator, I believe, and it's just a bit too complicated for her right now.
Oh.
I know Curtis is in he has a conflicting meeting because he's in what is it, land use, I believe.
Oh,
And then yeah. So those are the only 2 people I know.
I just pulled up the email with the assignments. Curtis, me, Mariella, Gabriella, Francisco, Rabbi Yosef Kalinsky, OC, Genesis, and Graham as our public member.
All right. We're gonna give folks a minute. All right, 7:05. So we're not voting on anything, so we need quorum to vote. So what we'll do is just, I feel like, get the agenda started, even though I do feel we have quorum, if I'm not mistaken. It's half plus 1. We're down 3 members. So that's 7 people. We have 4. Right? Okay, so there's just gonna be some modifications to the agenda. We have chair welcomes and updates, elected official reports. This is just basically a generic agenda that I like to work off of, to be able to give everybody some time and space. As you could see, everybody has a time breakdown. So all I'm gonna need is if somebody could volunteer to hold, to take down the minutes to make sure that folks know how much time is being allotted, and therefore we can maintain a constructive conversation. We might modify the agenda to move item number 3, which is the crime stat report, fire incidents, to number 2. And then just put the elected official reports after that. So that could be item 3. If there are any elected officials, they could provide the reports then. Then we'll go ahead and get into planning meeting for community conversation on gun violence, followed by FY23 budget, then new business and announcements. Okay.
OC, are you gonna do minutes or you want me to do the minutes? You wanna do minutes or you want me to do minutes?
if you don't mind doing minutes this month, I can do it next month.
All right. Sounds like a plan. So Gabriela, could you do timekeeping?
I think it will be hard for me. I'm doing 2 meetings. I'm with you here and I'm in a work-related meeting here.
Okay.
So I don't, I don't think my eyes will be able to.
All right, Danielle, can you do that? All right. So,
OC, can you do the minutes?
she said, no, I'm sorry. OC could time keep
Oh,
and you
okay.
do the minutes. Sorry. OC is going to do the minutes next month. So OC, can you help with timekeeping?
Okay.
All right. Could I get, so we understood the modifications made to the agenda or no? So all we're basically doing is moving item 3 up to item 2, which is crime stat report, and just replacing it with elected officials report. Are we okay with that? Because I'm gonna need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion?
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, anybody opposed? Abstentions and favors? All right. So chair welcome and updates. Hi, my name is Domingo Estevez. I have just been assigned as chair of public safety. I was notified last week, so my apologies if things might seem a bit disorganized. I believe in giving everybody ample time to get their points across, but we also have to understand that folks are also coming from work, and I feel time is precious and we have to respect everybody's time. So therefore we like to run our meetings pretty on point. And by on point, I mean everything is timed. Everybody's gonna be able to get their points across. Everybody's gonna be able to speak and yeah, every report. And for instance, I only have 3 minutes. I'll concede the rest of my time. Today we have I believe the commander from the 33rd, and I saw Heidi Pave come in from the 34th, if that's correct. So we'll be jumping into that. And yeah, so I just want to say I will build off what's already here. I'm still trying to figure out what was going on previously. So once we do that, and everybody could feel free to reach out as well. I believe in collaboration, so that means that everybody has to contribute in one way or another. I also believe in co-chairing, so that means that folks really have to figure out what type of topics they're interested in and be able to facilitate their topics, because leadership is not just one person, especially when you're working within a committee. So I will also be encouraging everybody to just think around topics around public safety. A conversation I had with Danielle, who's the assistant chair, was we have to truly define what public safety is in order to be able to understand what are we talking about. So we're not all over the place, and also maintain a certain level of objectivity so that we're not making assumptions when we have to base our opinions on data, especially in situations that are so sensitive and impacts lives of people. So that's something that I wanted to say. And we could start off with Brian Natali, which I believe is the commanding officer at precinct, the 33rd precinct.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
All right, first time using Zoom on my computer. For those of you I haven't met, I was the executive officer here for about 3 years before returning as the CO in July. So I'm very familiar with the area and very excited to be back. For the 28-day period, which is kind of how we measure crime in the NYPD, right? We look at it week to date, 28-day, and year to date. But it's really the 28-day is what gives us a snapshot of what's going on in a precinct in terms of crime at any given time. So for the 28-day period, I'm very happy to report that we are down 3% in crime, which is a welcome piece of data for me as a commander, because when I got to this precinct in July, the 28-day period stat was a 14% increase. So positive news coming out of this precinct in terms of crime. Year to date too, when I got here back in July, we were up about 17% in crime year to date. That number has dwindled down to 14%. So I'm seeing positive things happen in this precinct in terms of crime. And we're seeing kind of the same drivers of overall crime, which are robbery, assaults, and grand larcenies. And that's been kind of steady all year. In terms of specific things that I'm seeing, a couple of things, actually a few things I should say. Revel battery thefts, which I haven't really seen at other points in my career, but seems to be popping up here in this community. We have quite a few since August. Basically, what's happening is individuals are targeting Revel bikes that are parked off camera, like along Haven, Audubon, anywhere adjacent to a park where there's not a lot of cameras, and they're stealing batteries from these bikes. We've had quite a few chain snatches on the lower end of the precinct, 162 to 165, Broadway to Amsterdam. That's something we've seen about 6-7 incidents. And finally, car break-ins, which is somewhat historical along Edgecombe and Riverside. That's been popping up lately. Pretty much all I have in terms of an overview. I encourage everyone, if you're not doing so, please follow my precinct on Twitter. I'm big on it. It's one of the ways I communicate all the great work that my officers are doing. And if anyone has any questions for me, feel free to chime in.
Okay, thank you. Danielle?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Thank you so much for joining us and for that great update and welcome.
Thank you.
So I was in the 168th Street train station today and I saw that there were a bunch of officers sort of all over the place. Is there something specific that's going on? And also, I guess a specific question that I have is I personally noticed officers going after somebody that had hopped the turnstile. So is that part of the new transit cop initiative to target folks hopping the turnstile?
So where were you when you saw these officers? Were you 168th Street?
Yes, at the train station.
Down in the train station or above the train station?
Down.
So I can't really speak to anything below ground. That's a separate precinct. That's transit who controls that. And if you saw somebody making an arrest at a turnstile, undoubtedly that was transit officers as well. So I wouldn't know about that. I can say on my end, one thing that I've done here is I want my officers to be present, especially during the rush hour commute and especially in the vicinity of the hospital over there on 168th Street. So above ground, if you're seeing officers stand outside, you know, near the Starbucks over there or across the street, you know, that whole corridor that's coming from my direction. I want people going to work and leaving work, seeing my cops and feeling safe, but below ground, I wouldn't really know.
Okay, and then just one more quick question I have. So the Armory is also right there, and you know, as you know, there's a homeless shelter. So I guess I'm just wondering what your specific strategy or approach is going to be to sort of make sure that those folks are protected while also protecting the larger community.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it there, right? They're people who need help. They need services, and sometimes there can be another side of that where individuals that are staying there do commit crimes. It's a small population. One of the things I just mentioned to you is part of my plan, the omnipresence, making sure my officers are in that area. And like I said, especially during the rush hour commutes. And, you know, one thing we do too is if somebody from that shelter, we look at crime very closely here in this precinct. And if we notice that somebody in that shelter is victimizing people in this community, we look to get them kicked out of the shelter. And that's something that my officers will go to the shelter. They'll talk to management over there and they'll say, hey, listen, Brian Natalia is staying here and he's, you know, done 3 robberies in the last 2 months. We don't think that he should stay here anymore. So that's something that we do.
Okay, thank you.
OC?
Yeah, my question is, are there any animal abuse or animal neglect cases in the precinct currently open right now? I'm going to ask this question every month, so I would like to get information about that whenever you guys report on a monthly basis.
Yeah, so that we don't necessarily look at cases that are open. There could be 500, 1,000 cases open in my precinct right now, dating back to, you know, January. You know, there could be a lot. I can tell you that I read the complaints every day in this precinct. I haven't seen any in terms of animal abuse. I can also tell you I am an avid animal lover. I know we have an officer here who works very closely with the ACC, Michael Grove. I've known him for years. I personally get involved usually with animal cases because I have had dogs my whole life, cats my whole life, and you know, I take it kind of personal when people abuse animals. So if I did see a case of animal abuse, I would know about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much. Command. How is it that you say it? Commanding Officer Natali, right?
Call me Brian Domingo.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, by the way, if you have any questions, so we don't catch them off guard when they come to our meetings, just send it beforehand. I'll forward it to them so to make sure that they have accurate stats for it. Okay, OC, so I got you. If you could send me the language that you want me to share with them, so they could include it in their report as well, every month. Okay. Thank you. I believe the 34th precinct is here.
Yeah, how you doing? Sergeant McGuire from the 34th Precinct.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Everything's good. Welcome. My name is Domingo. I'm the new chair now of public safety. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to meet you. 3-4. We've been pretty good. I guess I'll piggyback off the XO of the CO33. We are down in burglaries and down in grand larcenies in the 28-day period. Felony assaults are up a little bit. We did have that 4 people shot outside of a club on 10th Avenue on September 27th, so that probably attributes to some of that. And robberies up a little bit. There's a pattern of people getting robbed outside of clubs for their chains and jewelry and stuff. But we're trying to combat that. We have we had a new team that is posted just outside the clubs from Thursday to Sunday. I'm the public safety sergeant here, so I supervise the public safety officers. So I might not have all the information that you guys might be asking. This is put on me last minute, so
All right.
I'm trying to work with what we got here.
Yeah, and it's understandable, like moving forward, one thing I do like to do is I'll make sure the committee asks the questions prior in the sense of like certain reports, because we want accurate information. We don't want people going off what they assume. And so welcome. We appreciate that you're here. And I'll make sure that we're a bit the proper what we're seeking is communicated prior to you attending the meeting, so like that we get the most accurate information. Okay, so thank you. Does anybody have questions for 3-4? Danielle?
Yes. Thank you, Sergeant McGuire. Quick question. So I've noticed that for some time, I believe that there was a shooting on 204 and Vermilia not too long ago. I'm not 100% sure about that. So I guess I'm just wondering if you're able to provide more information, because I've seen a car sort of posted there for a little while. And one thing that I was specifically wanting to know about was why the lights have to be on constantly. I asked one of the officers why the lights have to be on, and they said that they were instructed to do so. So I'm just wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah, just an omnipresence thing. Just people know the police are there. If anybody were to mean to do harm, they would see that the police lights are there, so maybe they wouldn't do it there. If somebody were to be the victim of a crime, they could know where the police car is and try to get there quickly, so we can try to, try to catch these perps if anything would be done to these people.
Okay.
Even cars that are stationary are supposed to keep their lights on?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Sergeant McGuire for the 3-4? OC?
I have the same question I had to the 33rd. If you can report of any animal abuse cases. I think there is one open right now.
I'm not really sure on those cases. Like I said, I'm the public safety sergeant, so I'm not sure on other complaint reports like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anything else, OC? So again, thank you for joining us, Sergeant McGuire. As I stated, we're going to make sure communication is fluid, but that requires collaboration on both ends. So whoever the point person is, the office staff, Chanel will maintain contact. And if we have any questions or concerns, I'll make sure to send it prior to the meeting so you get a heads up.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And I know you have a sense of what OC already stated. So in regards to animal cruelty, there's going to be certain questions, like if we could get the data prior to the meeting, but I'll make sure I send those questions so you could figure out what data pools to get information.
Sorry, I have one more question, Domingo.
Yeah.
I was just wondering for the 34th, if you're able to provide just a quick summary on the youth and policing event that happened.
I believe it was the 33rd too. It was 34th, 33rd.
What event was you asking about?
Domingo, do you have more information? I know it was like
I don't know. I didn't attend. Is the what is it? Connecting Bridges? Is the name
yeah,
of it?
something about bridges to try to with the youth. It was an event focused on the youth with the
Youth and policing, building bridges. It was coordinated by Fe Florimon, I believe. And it was a collaboration with, I believe she invited 4 different precincts, but definitely including the 33rd and 34. I had a conflicting meeting, so I was unable to attend, but yeah, I know the 33rd, the 34 were both involved, and it was a great turnaround. It's usually, they do a march, and towards the end, in past years, they usually have like a resource fair. Yeah.
Were you able to? Did they provide you any information on that, Sergeant McGuire, or no?
No, I don't have any information on that.
All right, cool. So we'll get a report back from somebody else. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And as I stated, let's just make sure that we attend the meetings and that the information and the data is provided. That's all that we ask. All right. So next on the agenda, we have an elected officials report. Ellie, would the DA's office fall under elected officials, right?
Technically, yes, and law enforcement, but I can definitely share my report.
But I have a question.
If you want me to share it now, yeah, go ahead.
Where do you want to be in the because we have like which is crime stats, fire incidents, and emergency services.
Typically, Curtis had us right after, I believe, the 33rd, 34, and then sometime FDNY will be here, and then we just report. And if anyone had any questions, we would just address them. But however you like.
I'll put you under there, and yeah. All right. So you'll report within that space. You technically have 30 minutes. There's 16 minutes left. So go ahead.
Okay, sure. I can go ahead. I don't have a huge report. I actually just wanted to kind of come back, say hello, reintroduce myself. I was unable to attend last month's meeting. I was away. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ellie Silvestre. I'm the community liaison on behalf of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And I just want to make sure everybody has my contact information. I will be providing that in the chat. It has been a very busy and engaging summer. Actually, last Saturday, which is the reason why I was unable to attend the Police Building Bridges event, my office coordinated an event called The Art of Healing. And it kind of correlates to what you want to speak about, which is related to gun violence. The idea behind our Art of Healing event is to raise awareness to gun violence. We hosted it in East Harlem, and also to provide a safe space where the community members can come together and use art as a creative measure to heal. We have music, food, it was a festival. Actually, Curtis was tabling there on behalf of his organization, so it was a wonderful event. I also wanted to briefly touch on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. As if you know, or you might already know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we do a big push to make sure our community members are aware of the resources. We host presentations, trainings for community-based organizations for any school. I know, Domingo, you have great relationships in many organizations. If anyone is interested in hosting or coordinating a presentation or a training for their staff, their parents, or even for the young people, we have one specifically for them. It's called Teen Dating Violence, where we share a little bit of information about domestic violence within the criminal justice system, but we also offer resources for someone who was potentially a victim. The presentation can be whether it could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be in person, it could be virtual. So we are always willing and looking forward to work with the community, whatever is they're looking for. This presentation is not only during the month of October. We do a big push because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. However, all of our presentations are available all year long and it is free of charge. I can definitely put the link in the chat so you can fill it out. But if anyone, if you know a specific organization that might benefit from it, they can just contact me directly and I will be more than happy to coordinate it and facilitate it for them. And if anyone has any questions from my office, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
All right. I know Sandra Sanchez has her hands up,
Mhm.
but I'm Sandra Sanchez. I'm not. Hey, how's it going? Is the question pertaining to DA or any of the previous speakers?
No, it wasn't pertaining to
she-
D. I just wanted to let you know that FDNY was here. That was
Yeah.
my
Okay.
attempt.
Okay,
Letting you know that we are here, but continue, Ellie.
No, yeah. So that was my brief report for today. I just want to make sure that everybody remains connected to my office. So if we have not spoken in a minute or in a while, please reach out to me. We're always willing to collaborate and work with the community and to address any public safety concern that anyone might have. As you guys know, Jocelyn Minaja, our director for Washington Heights office, works very closely within our precincts, the 26, the 30, the 33, and the 34. So please reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns.
Yeah. And Ellie, text me. So like that, we can get you inside of some of the schools. 'Cause I
Perfect.
know
We
that
appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. Any questions for the DA's office? Yes, Danielle.
Thanks for joining, Ellie. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot a little, given the fact that we have so many people from our district.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna a little put you on the spot. Given the fact that we have so many people from our district currently incarcerated on Rikers, are you able to say anything about the situation?
I might not be the proper person to speak on this particular situation, but we are definitely have made some changes in the way that we request bail on low level crimes in order to reduce sending people to Rikers Island, given the humanitarian issues that are happening up there. But I can certainly speak with you offline, get you more information, or point you to the right person that might speak better on this particular issue, and potentially even for the next meeting, I can gather more information and share it with everybody, if that's okay with you. But I know certainly my office is definitely following the issue very closely. We have met with some of our BIDs, Business Improvement District, to make sure they are aware of our modified changes that we have made. And I can certainly connect you with someone so we can share those with you as well. So if you give me a call or send me an email, I can certainly set something up.
Or what we could do is, Ellie, if that person can come and present.
I can certainly speak on it. I can definitely reach out to someone in my office, look what is the best way we can address it,
Okay.
but I would definitely appreciate even an email just so I can forward to the right person within my office, if that's okay with you both.
So Danielle, that's the homework. Draft an email to send as an assistant chair, draft an email to send to the DA's office in regards to being able to provide updates.
But I certainly want to make clear that we are following the situation and our office is aware. I just don't want to speak or
Yes.
share incorrect information. So certainly send me an email and I will get you the right information.
It's understandable. Thank you, Ellie.
Of course. And Daniel, I think you have my email, but I will certainly share it again just in case.
Thank you. Can you put it in the we don't have a chat.
Yeah, I just noticed. So I'll send you an email or text it to Domingo or something.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So if Commanding Officer Brian Natale's there's a question from the public.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Officer Jimenez from the 33rd Precinct Community Affairs. The captain had to step out,
Yeah.
so I will be finishing the meeting.
Oh,
I'm able to
there was-
provide any questions you guys may have. If
Yeah.
not, I could definitely answer that at a later date.
okay, they just want to know when the next community meeting is going to be for the 33rd precinct.
Yeah, I think I typed it in. It's going
Oh,
to be
okay, all right.
Thursday, October 28th at 6:30 p.m.
the public can speak. The public usually speaks during the Q&A for, all right. So we have BG has a question. So should I unmute him? Hey BG, I noticed you have a question going once.
Actually, I wanted to ask a question of Captain Natali, so I guess I'll hold off. Thank you.
All right.
If you guys have any specific questions for the commander, I would like to give everyone my cell phone number. So you guys have it, and then I can get whatever questions you guys may have, and I can invite you guys to the next 33rd Precinct Community Council meeting, and you guys could have questions for the commander then.
Right. All right, BG, if you have a pen and paper, I'm sure.
I will. I'm gonna text it to him.
I have my phone out, so just can you give it, or can you? It has to be sent through the Q&A.
All right.
Okay, I'll send my numbers through the question that you had. It says BG, can the public ask questions? I'll put it right there.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Layla.
Hello, yes, I posted my questions. One of the questions is that there's an ongoing drug dealing in 160th Street and 560 West. I think the 34th precinct is in charge of that. So my mother-in-law lives close by, and I usually drive her by. And I have seen people doing drug dealings in front of my car. And I wonder if the 34th precinct is aware of that, because there is also a school nearby. Also, my mother-in-law is old, and she's afraid of going to the street because there has been a lot of harassment by these people lately. So I don't know if the 34th precinct is aware of that.
So that's the 33rd precinct. That's in our confines.
Okay.
We know about some issues in certain areas in our command. So I put up my number up. We always have patrol. We have the NCO, and at that location, I believe, is NCO Adam. I will speak to our units to have more surveillance at that location. But if you have any other issues and concerns, or if this issue continues, you could just call me direct. And I guess I'll put in my number again. I'll type it up and you'll have it.
Thank you. And I was also having another question for 34th precinct because I live by Inwood. So it has been an ongoing issue with the noise on 9th Avenue. And we have been noticing that the police has been doing a great job deterring the noise on 9th Avenue, but now they are moving back at the back of the school by Harlem River. And I think it's PS5. So I don't know if the 34th precinct is aware of that, and if they can watch out, because patrol by, because I mean, it's very hard to put tickets about noise in that area. So I would like the 34th precinct to be aware. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Layla.
Sorry, Layla, what was the location of your first question of the racing?
It was 100.
I posted on my question.
This is 560 West 160th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Layla.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions before we move on to FDNY? Going once, twice. Well, Ellie, I would say just text me so I could schedule something, because I know that we're doing something in several schools, and I would plug you in so that you could do your workshop.
Texting as we speak. I got you.
All right.
Yeah. I want to make sure we're able to share this information with the schools in our area. So if you can help me with that, I will definitely appreciate it.
All right. So next up, we have Sandra Sanchez from the FDNY.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome, Domingo. I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm not a new face here. I was not able to join last month, but I'm glad that this is your first month as well. So I didn't miss too much. I just want to share with you that October happens to be National Fire Safety Month, and particularly this week is Fire Safety Awareness Week. So our fire safety education units are around the 5 boroughs, really working to promote and share resources about being fire safe. And the theme this year is learning the sounds of fire safety. Living in New York City, the hustle and bustle, it's very easy to just ignore the sound of your alarm. You'd be surprised. But we want everyone to be, number one, to have a working smoke alarm and have a working carbon monoxide alarm within their homes, but also to be very mindful that when the smoke alarm, when the carbon monoxide alarm is making a noise, you need to know what that noise means so you can act accordingly. For the most part, when you hear a beep, beeping noises simply mean to get out, call 911 and stay out. If your alarm happens to be chirping may be a sign that it is time for a new alarm. The new versions of alarms that are created now, they are battery sealed, so they usually last for about 10 years. But if you happen to hear an alarm chirping, it may mean that you have a defective alarm, and it's proven that is the same as not having an alarm present within your home. So we our fire safety education unit continues to work to educate all New Yorkers. Just like Ellie, our fire safety education team, we go to schools. We will go wherever you invite us. So we look forward to partnering with you. And I usually share the stats at this point, but for some reason, our intranet is down, so I'm unable to provide the stats for the month of September. But as soon as those are made available, I'll send it to you via email. And for those who would like to get in contact with me, I'll just leave you with my email. I'm very responsive, so it's sandra.sanchez@fdny.nyc.gov. Looking forward to working with you once again.
Thank you so much, Sandra. The same invitation I extended to Ellie in regards to if you want to do some workshops within schools and talk to kids about the fire safety education. I'll also extend that invitation as well. Who else? Is there any question for Sandra? Going once, going twice. Thank you. We appreciate you participating. We look forward to having you all consistently in the meeting and participating. And like I said, let's just maintain active dialogue so we're all in the same page, and see you next meeting. All right. So we have Superintendent Sabright Miller. I don't know if does he present during this.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing, Domingo? Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm driving, but I'll be brief. Yes, I'm the superintendent at Edgecombe State Correctional Facility located on Edgecombe between 163rd and 164th. Presently, we have women work release and we have general population men. We are one of 2 state facilities left in this New York City area. And we are going to be working with men coming from Rikers Island that went upstate. We got a few in recently, so we are going to be a resource for them to come back to the city and get off of Rikers Island. We're glad to help in that regard. We also work closely with the 33rd Precinct when anything happens in our area. So I look forward to meeting the new captain. So that's it at this time.
All right. Thank you, Superintendent Miller. Yeah, because I had just read an article. I actually was speaking to Danielle about it. Like, they're saying that they're sending inmates from Rikers over. That's good to know. Does anybody have questions? All right, being so, I have a question. My only concern is that you're across the street from, I believe, a middle school. So, what are some, like, what type of individuals from, like, because I'm assuming they're in a pretrial, right, Daniel? When you're in Rikers, it's still, you're not sentenced yet. You're still
No.
technically.
All right. Let me give you clarity.
Okay.
Anybody in our facility is been sentenced. They've
Okay.
been sentenced to state time. What happened is they had individuals on Rikers that were sentenced for more than 90 days. And the ones that were less than 90 days, a lot of them got released right to the community. But if it was over 90 days, they went up to one of our reception facilities, Ulster Downstate, and then they'll come back to the city via Edgecombe or Queensboro. As far as the school next door, we actually have a great relationship with the middle school. We did a school supply drive and donated a number of supplies at the beginning of the school year. And we also do workshops in the school. We've done workshops regarding how to conduct yourself with law enforcement, as well as vaping, opioid, because we have a drug treatment provider in Edgecombe. The individuals in Edgecombe, the only ones that come out are the work release women. Work release are minimum security. They have to be at a level where they can come out and work in the community. So they really pose no threat. And anybody that does work outside the facility has to pass outside clearance to be able to work. So we've had a great relationship. I've been superintendent there for 4 years. There's never been any incidents with the school. Like I said, so that's, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you for answering the question. Anybody else have any questions? With that, thank you for joining us, Superintendent Miller. We look forward to having you here, as I'm sure you are every month, and just keeping us updated into the current status of what's going on, especially since it's within such a vulnerable area. You know, we got our youth right across the street, so we got to make sure that we're on point. All right, and I'm sure you are. Thank you.
Definitely, thank you.
All right, so with no questions, we're moving forward to elected official reports. I always add that to the agenda to make sure that if there's any electeds, they're able to provide any reports. Seeing none, that's something that we can move forward from and table, unless there's somebody representing an elected official with me. Going once, twice. All right, so we're moving forward to planning meeting for community conversation on gun violence and how to move forward together. Gun violence is a very controversial topic because it's often based on assumptions, prejudices, stereotypes. So one thing that I would love for us to come together and do is identify some key stakeholders where we can engage an issue that's impacting our community and be proactive towards it. Meaning, one recommendation that I have is making sure that we start letting our youth know that this is not okay. So meaning potential collaboration with youth and education, but I think it's going to be important with the resources that we have within this space is how can we put messaging together and start partnering up with local, either educational institutions, after school programs, and seeing how we could get a message across that this is not okay and that you should not normalize, don't normalize it, you know? So I wanted to engage in this conversation with the committee and see what we could put together to start addressing a lot of this. So let's go on ahead and begin this discussion. We got 30 minutes.
Can I,
All right, go ahead, Danielle.
I was just gonna add one thing. I know that you had mentioned about identifying key stakeholders, and I think we also talked about, or maybe we'll do this at the meeting next month, but do we want to also say anything about like what we want to, like what the objectives are, or like what specific, like, I guess, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, no pun intended, but
Yeah, I think there's enough adults within this space to for everybody to collaboratively identify as a committee what do we want to accomplish, right? So if we understand that our community is experiencing an overwhelming amount of gun violence, crime might be down, but certain crimes are up, you know? So I think addressing gun violence at this particular moment is something that at least as somebody who works in a school, the youth are normalizing this too much. And I think there has to be a way of us being able to address that. And as a community board who obviously is interested in engaging the community, like is the voice of the community, I think we have to come together and identify at least some points that we could or make some goals that we could start. We're not here to solve the problem, but if we could get key stakeholders together and address it, I think that's a goal itself, you know, and identifying the resources that we have available and utilizing it. Because at this point, I personally don't see it besides the strategic law enforcement that's going on. That's just one layer of the bigger situation at stake. Yes, Osi.
So one of the things that I'm thinking is that there is no, I don't know if any of the precinct is open to anyone showing up and said, hey, I want to, I don't want to say submit, it's not the right word, but I found a gun or I have a gun and please take it away from me. I don't want to have this gun anymore, or whatever the reason. There is no, I don't think that there is a place that is, let's say the 34th precinct said, all right, you can come any time of the day or the night and just, relinquish your gun, or if you found a gun, or if you know of any incident like that. It seems like if we start a conversation that way, maybe the precinct will be able to find more information as to where the guns are. In some cases, maybe they know some of it already, but it's just that there is like one day a year, it's normally in the 50 precinct in the Bronx, where you can, come in with whatever weapon you have and you can just give it away and nobody's asking questions. Yeah. I'm thinking like maybe one of the
gun buybacks. I saw Letitia James was doing that all throughout the state. So is that something or is it different?
My point is just that the gun buyout is a one day type of thing. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about a 24 hours ongoing. One of the precincts should be open to something like that. So anyone can come in and said, here it is. I don't want to see it. And you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's my point. It's just so people, why the burden is on the people to show up at that particular day of the year to relinquish the gun or the buyout gun or whatever program it is. And once a year, it's just not sufficient.
Yeah, but it's also because the issue with that is the counter argument to that could be OC is identifying an individual who's going to take, because I'm assuming the what the rhetoric usually is that they're short-staffed. So taking one person and then what I think is, but I wrote it down. So exploring like a gun drop-off scenario, right? Where people could just come, identify somebody, or potentially like look into ways of maybe it's not the police station, maybe it could be the DA's office, So like that's what I'm trying to say. Like exploring a gun drop-off right? All right, cool. I got that. Anybody else?
I'm
I
just
see-
going to jump in. It's Ali from the DA's office.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand OC's point, and that's definitely a larger, bigger point that you guys can definitely explore and approach the right people. We have coordinated gun buybacks. My office, we had one last year in March. I think we had another one the year before in June. And I definitely understand OC's point, like a one-time event does not provide enough opportunity to address the issue. So definitely the committee can look into exploring other options. On gun buybacks are always something that we look to host and work together. So that's something that later in the future we can look into hosting another one in Washington Heights. That's something that we can potentially look into. I definitely love the idea of bringing awareness into gun violence, particularly in our young people. Like you said, Domingo, some of our youth are getting too used to or too familiar with the concept of guns. So maybe, the community board maybe can lead a campaign or something within our schools to raise awareness to the issues. And that's one of the things that the DA's office is really big on. We're really big on bringing awareness into public safety concerns. So whether that is gun violence, whether that is domestic violence, whether that is hate crimes. And these are topics that we are always looking forward to have deep dive conversations. So if you are interested in having someone from my office speak on the issue, maybe getting some stats or something on a later date, that's something that we can speak offline, collaborate.
And I appreciate that you're here, Ellie, because this is just a preliminary conversation so that we identify who needs to be on the table, what is expected for individuals to be on the table, and go beyond the rhetoric.
Perfect. So I just want to put that my office is more than willing to look into it and see what ways we can support the vision of CB12.
Yeah, I like something Danielle said when we spoke last week, which is we can't meeting our way out of this. So it can't just be meetings. But what we can do is have a meeting, action, and then report back. And I think that right there, that level of praxis is going to help us understand like what's really out there once we put in the work. Because I feel like there's a huge disconnect between what can be done, the assumption of what can be done, and actually doing it, And I think this is where, at least when I try to do things, I try to make sure that we do it, and then we go back to the drawing board and figure out where the issues were. So it could be something as simple, OC, as potentially, but we do still need to identify the partners, right? I had a conversation with Carmen De La Rosa. She's pretty down. She understands that this is a issue like occurring in the community, and she's also willing to support that as well. So my biggest thing is let's identify the key stakeholders. Let's put a round table together like a think tank, and let's start tackling a lot of these issues. But I do think to be able to do the work, right? I say we target the youth. We target a lot of these high schools specifically, and let's start seeing how that goes. And then we could think about something bigger, So for instance, it might be a gun violence resource fair or a gun violence day of action, right? There's kids that are dying in 528, which is a middle school. You had a kid pass away there last year, stabbed on 181st, So that wasn't necessarily gun violence, but it is violence, So is gun violence addressing the issue that is happening in our community, or is violence the issue, So I think these are some of the things that we could think on. But what I would like to do is let's try gun violence and then go for the broader scope, So right now, gun violence is something that's being normalized with the youth. Let's let them know that there's not normal. There's resources. Let's do gun buybacks. Let's explore if there's a way that we could have a gun returning situation happening, but let's do something about it.
I just want to add on to that. I think what I was trying to say before, and maybe I wasn't articulating it well, was, for example, with the youth, asking the youth what they might like to see, what they feel the reason might be that this violence is on the rise, if you will, or if they have ideas for sort of mitigating violence. Like we've sort of talked about offline, more opportunities for recreation and, you know, youth center and how we don't have that uptown and stuff like that. So I guess I was just, for me, I'm interested to hear what the youth feel might be a good alternative if, you know, they're even able to like, maybe that's just like, I don't know.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Gabriela?
Thank you. So it makes all sense, you know, what you said, Domingo, and what Daniel is also saying. And as a member also of the Youth and Education Committee, I think, number one, we need to, when I say we, I'm talking about the Public Safety Committee. We need to kind of like carry on along with us, the Youth and Education Committee, do something jointly and in coalition with elected officials. Because as you know, we are just, we can just recommend, right? The community board doesn't have really the power of really changing things. We can recommend, we can make community pressure, if you will. But at the end of the day, the elected officials are the ones that really have the power, I would say, to make some changes in the direction that we are envisioning. So I don't know if this makes sense to you. I think if we can do something in collaboration with in coordination with the Youth and Education Committee and the elected officials, you call it however you want to call it, but I think that would be a good start, I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriela. And the reason for this is because initially we were, you know, I was talking about, Leo, let's do something around, let's end gun violence. And sometimes that reactionariness sometimes leads us to take steps that aren't necessarily needed at the moment because it's going to take us backwards. So that's why in this space right now, we're having a preliminary conversation around, let's host this conversation next month. And let's, as a committee, identify who needs to be there. What is it that we want? Because some of the issues that I notice in the board is we have a lot of vague conversations that are mentally stimulating, but at the end of the day, don't lead to anywhere. You know, so let's talk about what is the preface of the conversation. Let's figure that out. And then let's create some action steps that we could hold the people that we invite to over. Because like you said, we're just here to recommend. But at the end of the day, what we're recommending is these steps, which already is half the battle, right? We already did half the work for you. But now we have some accountability steps that we could hold people accountable to, you know, and I think that's what's important. And those are areas that I've learned is what makes a community board useful. It's not necessarily that you necessarily have to lead it, but we could work in conjunction with, and at the same time, have certain like goals, certain benchmarks that we could identify as a committee that we could hold people accountable to. And I think that's what I'm trying to accomplish here.
And if I may, I forgot to also add the so important community-based organizations that have youth programs, including the organization that you represent, Domingo, including Alianza Dominicana, including, you know, so many others. I don't want to name, you know, by name, but so many others. And I think if we also include those organizations, their population, you know, the clients, the people that they serve, I think we could be really effective and really turn around this challenge.
So let's do this, right? So what I'm hearing from the conversation is our key stakeholders are the board, right? Which is, this is what we're part of, youth, elected officials, community-based organizations, and city agencies. That's the intersection of everybody we work with, right? So now what we could do as a committee is we all have relationships within these different structures. So like, let's say, Gabriela, I'm sure you have a certain relationship with Alianza, right? You are responsible for bringing the person from Alianza, right? I'll be responsible for reaching out to some youth that I know are doing similar work, but let's bring them in so we can hear their voices and see where their logic is when it comes to gun violence. So I'll reach out to the youth, right? Community-based organizations, we identified Alianza. Who else? I know CASW is in a few schools out here as well. Children's Arts Science Workshop, I think is what they're called. We got CASW. We have who else do we have? We have CASW. We also have that organization that's in the 60s, no, the 70s.
Do you think
That's
that the Ebenezer and the folks at the administration at CB12, they might probably have like a list of, you know, like the listing that they have with all these names? Probably they have also.
Hey, Chanel, you there?
Huh?
Oh, no, Chanel. Let me see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chanel is.
Yeah, here.
So do we happen to have a list of all the CBOs like working with youth in our community or no?
I gotta check. I'll
Okay.
get back to you on that.
All right, so that's homework, Chanel.
Okay.
So, but off the head, right? Like I'm just thinking of people we already have relationships with that is going to be easier for us to reach out. Like Friends of Wheels too. That's an organization to have connections with. And how about principals? Are we inviting principals? What do y'all think? No, they are technically, the DOE is a city agency.
Yeah, I don't know what the rest think, but probably we can think about. I see principals, parent teachers association, you know, school leaders. It's like a broader, like a number 2 or a second stage of our.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of this conversation. I would say that I will definitely include CEC. I will say that's the, if I'm not mistaken, that's the educational body that oversee all the different PTAs and all that. I'm a little off of that because, you know, a long time I'm not involved really in schools anymore, but I don't know if CEC will be like a good choice, you know, like to glue them in the especially for the high schools.
Because this is, and I want to be clear, and you could correct anybody here could correct me if I'm wrong. I want to target high school, right? Because that's already at an age where these kids are going home alone, go to school alone. Their engagement with society at this level is at a higher level than a middle schooler or an elementary schooler, you know. Pero I do agree with what you said, Gabriela. That's the second layer, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like,
but you know what? Thinking in the way you're saying it now, I mean, we don't have too many high schools. How many high schools we have in the CB12?
George Washington.
That's one.
Luperon, but within the vicinity, Luperon. We have Chaw. We have Wheels. Yeah, I think it's like
those four. We have did you mention the one that is in Academy Street? I forgot the name.
Oh, yes.
One of the co-located schools.
College something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Let's say like 5, 6 or whatever. I don't know. Just thinking. It's not too many people. We can include the principals from those schools. I mean, but if you include the principals, you have to include the PTA. You know, you have to include the parent association. You cannot include one side and not the other. Then we're gonna be.
So you know what?
Fire.
You know what that's gonna be? The collaboration with Faye. That's Faye's responsibility.
There you go. That's why I say Youth and Education Committee. Then I was thinking about her really.
Yeah. So Faye is responsible for reaching out because I'm sure she has the contact to the 6 schools. What I'll basically do on my end is I will draft an email that we could just copy and paste and just send it to everybody, which is usually like a uniformed email usually is better than everybody just having the little, So
I think you forgot
Danielle, what?
you forgot a key one.
Which one?
Uplift NYC.
Oh no. That's I don't like mixing my personal with my
No, but my point is that I think that we should involve like also community leaders.
Mhm.
So if there is anybody from like a sports, like Dykeman Power Dominican Power, or any of the other like leagues, I think that might be good too.
Okay. Looking at Dykeman, Wood, Walking, the Pit. All right. So it just seems like at this point, I think what we're missing is our goals. So what would be the goal of this? So like that, when we draft something and we're bringing in all these individuals who have conflicting interests, who are competing for every single penny out there. How, like, I understand the banner of gun violence, but what do we as a community board want to achieve? Or as a committee? And that's the question that's going to let us know what we're doing, basically.
Well, I think the question that we want to ask them is,
we're not asking them the question. We're asking them to get involved in a question that we posing that we assume to have the answers for.
right, how
If
to address
not,
violence.
it's like, hey, yeah, just hire me as a consultant. I'll make sure that I hook you guys up. Like folks just want to know, like, what are we doing? Like, if we say, is it going to be like an educational forum? Is there going to be a resource fair? Something simple where it doesn't require too much work. It just requires a lot of connecting, because I'm sure everybody here is overwhelmed already as it is. OC.
I think that one of the things, at least what I was thinking, and is that we, to some degree, I feel that the kids are the one that can lead us to solutions, because they have to feel comfortable talking to us about the things that bothering them the most when it's come to gun violence or violence in general. And so it's a little sensitive in conversation, depending on the age of the kids. And I'm not sure how to do it, but I feel that if we do like an event like that, that should be some event that they feel comfortable to talk. Mm-hmm. And we may discover a lot of things that we don't think about right now, or we don't know, because kids among themselves, you know how it is, it's different. So how can we make it comfortable for them to talk about the issues we would like to hear, just violence, gun violence, and then we as an adults can find some solutions, maybe according to what they tell us. So they're really the key. That's how I look at that.
So, and this again, right? Because this veers the conversation somewhere else. Now, what we're saying is something similar to like a youth summit, right? Where you invited youth, you ask them a probing question, and then it's technically like survey style. So now they're going to be able to identify what they need, or they're going to tell you what they need. But then once you have all that information, we come back to the full circle, right? Which is, so do we feel more comfortable getting the information first, or do we feel comfortable organizing the resources and then in the process getting the information? You get what I'm trying to say? Because there's two different ways that we could go about this.
I think The way I look at it, I feel that it's more important to get the information first, and then let's see what kind of events in plural we have to organize in order to cater to the problems they are telling us. Because
So now Gabriela's going to tell you that that's something that could be done through youth and education. And when you involve the youth, or we say we're going to collaborate with youth and education to have a conversation, which I could bring some of my facilitator friends and ask specific questions where we're able to get areas that we could try to work on to address what they identified as a problem. Gabriela.
Yeah, and you know what Osi is saying, it makes sense what she's saying. But wearing my public safety hat and now wearing my youth and education hat, the goal for this conversation, I assume, is to bring the issue of the gun violence.
Yes.
Right. So this is our task.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it happens to be that this is connected with the youth, right? So how can we make sure that we don't make this this effort into a youth summit, for example? Keep it as a gun violence. How can we help? How can we bring awareness information alongside with the youth? And I think that's why I believe before putting a name of whatever we want to do, that's why I'm saying that we should have like a meeting. It will be a meeting between us, right? When I say us, I'm talking about, of course, I'm talking about Fe. I'm talking about, for example, Eddie from Alianza. I'm talking about, and I will bring him, to the meeting. For example, right? I'm thinking about the people that Domingo might probably bring also. I'm thinking about those principles that we can identify, or, it's having like a Zoom conversation, I would say, to think tank and kind of exchange how we'll be putting the event together, what name we're going to give it, and how, of course, we have to include youth. We're not going to do something related with the youth without youth. But what I'm saying is, for the purpose of public safety committee, bring to the attention of the community the gun violence connected with the youth and keep it in that track. So that's what I think. Like the first thing is that we have a conversation among us before putting a name on an event or thinking further, right? So I think that will be better for us to make sure that whatever we put out there is not just something to have pictures, something that at the end of the day is not going to end in nothing. And that's why it is important to include elected officials. Also, not to take pictures and because people are getting reelected, elected, or whatever,
or give speeches,
but to do what we need to be able to change what we need to be changed.
Okay, Domingo, just a side note, our conversation about that is now 22 minutes. I don't know how long you plan on.
Yeah. So I feel like we could do it for 8 more minutes. What I would say to move the conversation forward is addressing gun violence, bringing in key stakeholders, which are people who do youth engagement. I feel one good thing that could come out of this is identifying resources available, because there might actually be initiatives already being done by some of these organizations that probably don't get the proper amplification or are not receiving the resources. Because from my understanding, there's already organizations that receive funding in locally. But then again, I'm pretty cool with folks, but the reality is a lot of organizations that are receiving funding don't necessarily engage the youth at a level where the funding is conducive to change, but it's just conducive to maintaining a certain level of stagnance and saying, we wrote this, we did this already. You know what I'm saying? So I think one of the things that we have to be very careful and have in mind is it's not only about providing funding and putting money on the problem, but also identifying solutions for the problem once the funded organizations couldn't do that. And I think that's something that's historically happening in this community, where it's like the same people, the same results, and that's why we are where we are now. You know, I'm not trying to say that the current talking point is, oh, this is like the 80s. If you lived in I lived here in the 90s. If you lived in Washington Heights, trust me, you cannot compare a isolated event in a nightclub to a straight daylight shooting on 183rd and St. Nicholas. Those are two totally different type of incidents, you know, and I think people have to be, that's why this is also a space where we can educate individuals to go beyond their biases and their assumptions that because they're within certain marginalized communities, that the crime is a wave as opposed to isolated events that is targeting specific individuals, which is often the case of what I see here. It hasn't been sporadic, like, oh, I was walking down the street and I got shot in the leg. Those are, they happen in certain nightclubs, right? But it's not happening walking to school, which there was a shooting supposedly close to a school, but that, I don't want to get into that, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, let's, yeah, Danielle.
No, I was just gonna agree with what Gabriella was saying about how I'm sort of seeing it like a think tank, and then for us to think about solutions based on what comes up. Because maybe we don't want to, maybe a fair is not what we're going to do. Maybe we're going to think about who gets funding and maybe funding different organizations.
But that's too political for a community board to take on. And I'm not
Well, I think what I guess my idea then would be to bring that information to the elected officials. So then it would be maybe a resolution that we create that says we have, you know, we've hosted this forum and we've identified these solutions based on the conversation, and these are the things that and then maybe that would be part of the budget, you know, who knows? But I think we can't know what the next steps are going to be until we know, because we don't know if it's going to be funding, we don't know if it's going to be jobs, we don't know if it's going to be a community center, a resource fair, like we don't know.
So is it fair to say that we could call this a think tank addressing gun violence within CB12? Is that simple? Like, we don't have to overcomplicate it either.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I'm
right.
trying to say?
I like it.
Yeah. So before we move on, OC, I know we're gonna go on by maybe like 5 minutes. So let's pose 3 to 4 questions to everybody who participates, right? So what we're saying is we're bringing all these these stakeholders in, but let's ask them 4 questions that's going to initiate that thinking, you know. I could start off by saying something simple, right? What are you doing to address gun violence, right? Are we cool with that?
Or maybe even more simple than that, like, what do you think of when you think of gun violence?
No, because these are people already working within these spaces, right? So, like, it's not what you think anymore. It's like the
What you
resources
do.
that you have, how are you using it?
Right.
You get what I'm trying to say? Because if it's like, I would ask the youth that question, like little kids, like, yo, when you hear gun violence, what automatically comes to your mind? But I'm not gonna ask my boss that when I know she's giving me $200,000 to manage a program around gun violence. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, can you repeat your question just so I can write it down?
It was what are you like, I think it's, do you have any initiatives addressing gun violence, right? Something simple like that. No?
No, you said it really good, Domingo, the first one. What are you doing? What are you currently doing right now within your program to address gun violence? Because they're already in it, right? So
I mean, but if we're having a youth, they're not really in a program. That's kind of why I was saying that.
So maybe this think tank is not for youth at this moment. You know, like when you create youth spaces, it has to be extremely intentional and it has to cater just to them. Because when you add the adults, it creates like this authoritative figure that already they're gonna be quiet and they're gonna let you do all the talking. You know, so it has to be really intentional where it's like maybe the follow-up conversation is a conversation with a conversation with you around gun violence. And now we bring all these stakeholders in that have these resources that they've already pre-identified for gun violence and just make the connections, you know? But at this point, it's not good to bring in youth and a think tanks with a bunch of adults that get paid to work with you. You know, it has to be a different type of space. At least I suggest, you know, because it just becomes, unless you have a political organization like Brotherhood Sister Soul, which I'm going to invite to this, it's like they're working on mobilizing youth against Rikers, against mass incarceration. Those youth already have been trained to think critically. A lot of our youth are. You know? I put one question. Danielle, you have your hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Anybody else have another question? I think with 4, we should be good before we move on. All right, so let's give it till 35. All right, Gabriela.
You said 4 questions, you put 1, right? So we have
Yeah.
to think about 3.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if in the order that I'm gonna say it, what I'm gonna say is makes sense. So you
Okay.
turn it around the best way. You know, Spanish is my main language, so I have to sometimes do these tricky things. So how can, and you know, how can we, and when I say we're talking about we, not the community board, no, we, including all the people that are going to be in this think tank and all that. So how can we make this initiative successful and connected and connecting the message to our youth? I don't know. That makes sense? Maybe you reframe it and say it better.
No, it sounds right. It just, you know, how can you make this initiative successful? Because that's the problem, right? And this is like, we don't live in a utopian society where it's like everybody does want to get involved. We have to be realistic. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of competing interests. You know, these people are applying for the same pot of money. They're like, why did this person get it and that person didn't get it? Oh, because this and that. So this is what I'm trying to say we're going to deal with when we open up the space to a broader spectrum of our community, which is, we assume a lot of these youth development organizations are working in collaboration, but the problem is, how do you collaborate with somebody you're competing against? And that's something that I want people to think about as well. Joseph?
Yeah, I was just going to say something. Maybe another way of saying what Gabriela is saying is, what are the challenges?
Yeah, what are the
challenges? What are the challenges that the community faces in moving this agenda forward? And that could be many different things.
I always say, the more complex the problem, the more simpler the solution is. You know, sometimes we overcomplicate because we overthink, but sometimes just asking somebody, hey, how you doing, is better than like, hey, I hope your day is going great. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, sometimes the simple way will get us the results that we seek. You know, Danielle?
Yeah, I was just gonna basically take what you said and turn it into a question. We could ask, what are you doing to collaborate with other organizations?
Okay.
I don't know if we wanna.
Are you doing?
Or maybe say, how can we get a variety of organizations to unite over this?
Yeah, like increase collaboration.
Right. Not what are you doing, but how can we collectively unite or, bond together or unify over this really important, issue in the community?
And that's
Kind
why I
of
think,
make like a coalition.
yeah, basically that's a potential. Because I know, speaking to Carmen said she was thinking around something around that area, and it's important because, like I said, right, we can't be naive and assume that we're not within certain political complexities, right? So it's like we have to also understand that there's certain things that we're not privy to that is happening that we might not understand what it is. So I think it's important for us to just identify one thing we want to accomplish and then just measure it off that, as opposed to being naive and automatically assuming people want to build a coalition, because that everybody's going to say yes because this is being recorded. But once that meeting is gone, you're not going to get any responses from folks, or, my dog is sick. I can't participate, but you have a staff member, or no, they're on vacation. So that's what I'm trying to say. Usually when you make one call, you make it with one specific agenda in mind. It makes it easier for everybody, and that's why I felt that something simple could be identifying resources to address gun violence within our district, and then just bringing these resources to high schools, identifying what these resources are, and that's the collaboration right there. And I feel like from there, we're already going to establish a working atmosphere that people are going to be able to keep it real with each other. Like, you know what? I'm going to write that grant, but I want to make that relationship with that principal. So let me bring my best program over here. And I think that right there for us, at least, is a win, because that's not our problem. So is that fair? Right? All right, cool. So we got it. So do we feel that addressing gun violence, right? And our goal as a committee is to get all these key stakeholders to work together so that we could support the high school students within our district by bringing resources to our schools. So we coordinate with the principals and bring these resources in there. And also with the complexities of COVID, it might be something that's done outdoors. It might be something that you need to be vaccinated to enter a DOE building. So that certain organizations are experiencing worker shortages because of the whole vaccination situation. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I feel we could come together doing that. Is that cool?
Can I add something?
Yes.
I know we talked a lot about youth and schools, but I wonder, we haven't really talked about gangs and the relationship between gun violence and gangs in the district. Do we want to potentially bring in somebody that could speak to that? Because I know I've been keeping track of the shootings and the ages of the people who've been shot recently, and at least in Inwood, and they haven't really been youth. They've been a little older.
Yeah, but the thing is that, right, that requires, at least in my thinking, right, when you see these type of situations unfold in our community and with individuals at that age, is because there's some backstory that we might not necessarily know to it, or people are they might be engaging in certain lifestyles that, I don't wish death on nobody, but some lifestyles are much more cause of premature death more than others, right? So it's like, for me, why I say the youth is because I feel like that's the pool for gangs. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest recruitment area that you will ever see for any gang, which is these high school kids who think they got life figured out, and they throw their life away with just one mistake. So that's something that I feel all of us could come together on and just say, you know what? I will bring my best trainers. I will try to get NBA players just to talk to that one kid about the possibilities. more than an adult that's already in a situation that's much more complex than just a conversation. You know, and I think that's why we can't save the world, but we could potentially, again, going like to what Tupac said, spark the minds of those who will. You know, so I feel like sparking those minds is at this moment should be extremely important. You know, and it's an area also that doesn't necessarily require too much.
I can also invite my friend. He's the director of the Young Adult Services Program for Rikers.
Perfect.
And I can
That's
see.
great. That's great. And hopefully we could get some brothers who are on the and sisters who are on the redemption path, and they could have their own personal like their own personal stories and speak to it. But is that cool? So I think, do we all agree to it? Could we vote on it? You know, does anybody oppose? The only one I don't see is Joseph. Joseph, does everything sound good, or is there anything you would suggest? All right, hearing nothing, I guess, Danielle, could we be more specific and then go a bit broader? Is that okay with you?
Me?
Yeah, no, because I know you want to do something a bit broader, but sometimes, like, if we hone in, we're gonna identify things that could help us expand. You know, maybe the conversation that we need to have with the adults is the impact that they're having with the youth. You know, and you get it. So like everything we could tailor everything to identify solutions, but we have to do something, and then we'll figure out. After that, we assess how it went, and then we move forward to something potentially broader.
No, I hear you. I think this is like a very complex subject, you know, and like you said, it can start at a very young age. And then I personally work with people who are older in the jail system, and many of them entered for the first time as youth, young adults. So I do think it could be really great to have it to focus on the youth now, and then maybe, you know, do a part 2.
All right, cool. So my homework is gonna be, and everybody could chime in. I'll put a draft email together that we just send to every contact that we know. Let's just, if you want me to start a Google document where we could just start tapping in the individuals we talk to and their contact information. So therefore we have a list of everybody who we're expecting or we've invited. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So with that being said, the next item, which I think we should limit it to 20 minutes, being that we went over about 10 minutes, right, OC? Is the budget. Has everybody seen the budget yet? Oh man. Chanel. Let me see. Chanel.
Oh, yes. Hi.
Question, did the committee receive the budget?
Yes, I sent it to everyone, like from last year.
No, this year's budget, FY23, I believe.
No, I think that's the one you're working on now. I sent the FY22, I believe.
Okay, did everybody get that? When is that due, Chanel?
There is a hearing on the 20th.
Of this month?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to do it tonight?
Or by before that time.
All right. Okay, because Curtis sent me an email regarding some items that Liz had said didn't fall under hers, which is emergency call boxes and cameras in parks. All right. My apologies for being a bit unprepared. I didn't have this either. Chanel, I don't have the public safety the budget.
I'll resend what I sent originally. Give you one minute.
All right, cool. Thanks. So a lot of these items is capital. I believe is OC, do you know a bit more about me, I believe, about this, right? Because you've done this a little longer. It's capital and something else.
An expense
An
budget.
expense. So from my understanding, capital are projects over $3 million, and expenses is just like initiatives, you know. So let's say we want $200,000 for a gun buyback program, you know. That's my understanding of it.
I thought it's capital once it's above 35,000, but I may be wrong. That's what I remember from.
I think expense has to be above 35,000.
Okay.
Capital are like major improvements, which means like building stuff, infrastructure.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I found a Google Doc from last year where we ranked the 2019 budget items, but there's no chat, so I can't send it.
Okay. Or reply to one of the people that asked the question, and we with the link, and we should be able to see it there.
Yeah, let me.
I just resent the thing, so let me know if you got them.
Okay. Yeah, I got them now.
Did you send it to all of us, Chanel?
Yes. So all the I think I forgot to CC Danielle. I'm sorry. Let me check.
All right. So all I see here is for public safety, we have, and this is for capital. For public safety, we have additional upgrades of emergency response system 311 and 911 to record times and geolocations for better response data and transparency. Procurement of additional noise decibel readers for CB12. Light tower within 33rd precinct. Procurement of bariatric stretchers for FDNY. Procure 2 Argus cameras for NYPD precinct placement in high crime and low crime areas. Procurement of all-terrain vehicles for FDNY for efficient response in CB12 parklands. That's what I have. That's what was there for capital. And then for expense.
Just to note how high up number 6 was one of the decibels. People in the community think that noise issues are big issues.
Yeah. Agreed. But again, I'm just reading through what Chanel just said. Then for everybody got it or no?
I have it.
Okay. So there's a lot of new items in expense, and there's a item that already has a number attached to it.
You are in the expense one, Domingo?
Yes.
Okay, because I was looking at the capital. I said, oh my God, what is it? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Expense, we have expand domestic violence and anti-sexual harassment programs. That was actually number 1 by the committee, 11 in the board. Expand explicit bias, mental health, substance use training. That was number 12 on the board, number 2 for the committee. Mental health clinical professional for the NYPD. That was number 17 for the board, number 3 for the committee. Expand public education programs on public safety issues, fireworks, driving, bike noise. That's that was number 39 by the board. Increase funding to support FDNY in addressing and correcting violations, enhance fire prevention. That was number 42 for the board, and add speed cameras and humps in 33rd and 34th precinct. That was number 24 for the board. So there's a lot of items there already. So I don't know if folks want to add new items, if they're okay with the items that are there, if they want to re-rank the items that are there. From my understanding, once an item has the the city provided it a number already, that means that that item is in progress. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to remove it, just keep it there so that they can see it as a priority. We have both precincts here. If they're in need of something, I know for the 34th, there was a time that they wanted a capital improvement by adding a parking space, I believe, on top of the precinct, or extra parking space, infrastructure. Yeah, so if we agree with it, we could just say yes and maintain the same ranking, and yeah, it's up to you.
I don't see anything that has continuing supports, which is like, this is something that an item that is already in the process. You will have like continuing support notification, but I'm not sure any of them. I don't think any of them have that continuing support. Wait.
So what does that mean? Because for capital expense, only the new item, I don't see a continuing support means like the numbering.
That means that we already gave it a number, meaning as a community board, and we are
No, all of them
asking
have a
for
number. doesn't it?
community continuing support. So
What does PS mean?
okay, public safety, that's like the
Okay,
committee.
okay.
Right, right. So I see on the capital budget, you're right, only one is new. The rest of them already have a number, meaning it's on the city system.
Mhm.
Right. And on the expense,
All of them are new, like with the exception
other
of
than
one.
one. Yeah, okay. So I guess the only question, if we want to change the way we voted on each and every item, like the rate.
Also ranking for folks. So re-rank them.
I guess that's the question, right?
I feel that with COVID, even if we ranked them last year,
Mhm.
COVID took such a precedent that none of this really, I think, was even considered. So to do justice to Curtis and the committee last year, I just think like maintaining it the same, or making some modifications. Danielle, you were the assistant chair then, so you should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those items were suggested by the NYPD and the FDNY, so we sort of honored their requests. One thing I was gonna say that I don't see is anything about programming for to sort of address incarceration, to reduce
Like re-entry or prevention program.
both prevention and programming for reentry. I know from personal experience that especially with COVID, as you said, there were a lot of people that were released, and there were not. I think I think more programming could be available to support those folks. I know that there's a separate Housing and Human Services Committee, but housing is also an issue. But to sort of not get into that, I think we could just talk about supportive services to prevent incarceration and to support people who are returning from incarceration. What do you think?
I'm always, I'm in youth development. For me, education is the key to everything. So I wouldn't be able to knock that. But the question is, there's already some education. There's already some education language there that could be modified. So look, expand public education programs on public safety issues such as fireworks, driving, bike and noise, right? The board ranked it number 39. So I'm assuming,
Oh, but that's different though. That's like programming to educate people on the problems
okay,
that we are experiencing in the community. What I'm talking more about is programming
preventative,
available
yeah.
for people to prevent. I mean, I guess maybe we'll focus more on returning from incarceration,
Mhm.
but to just have something in there that explicitly is for that demographic. I don't know if we want to have that.
There's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 other committee members here. Is there anything? Expand domestic violence and the quicker we get through this, my people, the quicker we will adjourn this meeting. So if we could figure this out. Danielle, just propose language and add it.
Okay.
Do you have an Excel document with this or no?
Not for this one. Or I don't know. I just looked in my email box real quick and I found the one from the previous year. I just
Yeah.
forwarded it to you.
Yeah, because technically what we could do is just delete everything. Well, are those the same ones?
I could check.
Hold up, let me just got your email.
Yeah, they are. Everything is there.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yeah. So now it's just a matter of figuring this out.
Are you trying to add another item?
Yeah.
To expense.
Okay.
I don't need to. It's fine. I just realized that we don't have anything in there that explicitly addresses that demographic. And given the fact that so many people were released during COVID, I mean, many of them have been reincarcerated again, but I know from experience that there are a lot of people in need, many people getting released, and I think more services are needed, supportive services. So I just thought maybe we could put something on there.
Yeah. Could you send this is, if you want, Danielle, what you could do is do a duplicate of that spreadsheet, label it this year's 21s, right?
Mhm.
You already have the formulas for average, and then just having people vote on it. We'll send everybody the link and they just rank however they choose.
Oh,
And-
everybody's on here already.
Yeah, but most of the individuals are no longer here. So for
No, they
instance-
are here. OC Graham.
No, Graham is not here anymore.
Oh, Joseph is here. Gabriella's here.
Yeah.
Just
So
check
those-
it, that's all. Just check, and then send us the link again.
Yeah, and then send the link via
I'm
message.
here. I'm just on and off with the.
Yeah, I got you. So then we just send the link. So like you see maybe where it says, oh, all the questions reset. And then it's gonna average it out. So if individuals, I feel like working documents for these type of meetings are much better than a Google Doc could save your meeting. All right, we good? Danielle, we good? Or are we still?
Good.
Are we using the same document?
forwarded it to you.
Okay, hold up. Haven't received anything, that's all. So we're using the same document because this is gonna edit the previous document.
I think that's fine. We don't need to, do we need to
Alright.
preserve the other one?
I'm assuming so.
But that's just a Google Doc. I mean, the official one was submitted.
Okay, all right, so
I think it's fine to just edit that one.
the formula here, results. Oh, okay, he did it manually. All right, so we have Danielle, OC, and myself here. Joseph, Gabriela. All right. I have share the link. OC, Joseph. And Joseph. All right, I send everybody the link via, everybody got it via email?
I got it.
Yeah,
I didn't get it yet.
just look at your name and then just rank or add whatever you want to add.
And this is, should we change the title on top to 2021?
All right, done.
Okay.
So like for me, this is expand domestic violence. So there's a part. Danielle, are you gonna add yours or are you gonna, or not?
No.
OC, did you get it?
I got it, but I'm trying to log in to put the numbers, just.
I'm just double checking the ranking from last year.
Yeah, I know what the problem is.
Is this a Google Docs?
Yeah.
I think I got it.
Mhm.
Wow. My phone is better than the computer.
And once you tap it in, it's gonna average everything out. So just,
I just go with whatever you want.
oh no, you go with whatever you want.
We are pretty much on the same page, all of us. I don't think we
Yeah.
have too many difference. I don't know.
Here, man.
What? Oh, it has my name on it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that means I have to put a number. I have to put, oh, okay.
Yeah, you just label it by putting a number. to what you figured?
Remember, I am from the other millennial, so I have to you have to bear with me now because this this is what I have. Oh, you cannot see it. Oh, damn. Oh, sorry, this is recording. I didn't say anything. Let me see, how am I going to do this? Oh my God. I don't even know how to.
I just changed the rank. I just modified the ranking for the expense. I just realized that there was an error or the numbers were not there, but it's basically the same.
Okay, I agree with what Domingo put the numbers. I will put the same numbers. So how I'm going to put the numbers in my thing? I cannot.
All right.
I'm trying to.
If it's
You have to log in.
Oh, yeah, you're trying to be fancy now.
There you go.
Can you just put the same numbers?
Yeah, I already did.
Okay, so it's not, okay, thank you. I don't know how to.
Okay, so
Ariella, we need you. We have a tie on for 1.75 on the expense.
Who?
Right now, there's a tie on the expense.
Which one?
The first two.
Oh, oh yeah, there is a tie. Oh yeah, Gabriela.
You need to put 2 and 1 in the first 2 and then 1, because I don't have 2 and 1 in the first 2.
Oh, it's still a tie.
Oh. 1 second, no, 1 second. Okay, wait.
Oh, there you go.
No, there you go. Whoa, wow, that's close.
So cool.
All right, so it's looking, everybody put it in, so it's looking like 2, 1, 3. Oh, there's a tie between fireworks for 5. There's a tie for 5.
On the expense?
Yeah, yes.
Anyone feel strongly?
What do you call?
I would go with education.
Okay. So make education 5?
4. Education's 4.
4, 5, 6.
No. No, we messed up.
What?
Because 4.8 is before 5 on both accounts. So
Yeah, speed camera should be first.
speed cameras is 4,
5,
5, 6. There you go.
Woo!
And here we have.
I'm so happy we found this document.
I'm changing something on mine. Are you gonna kill me?
No.
No, not yet, right? We can still do it. Okay.
Yeah. There's 2 5s. There's another tie in Capital with the Argus cameras and the light tower.
Wait, question, is Curtis, are the people who are not here going to have the opportunity to rank?
From my understanding.
No, you gotta be here.
Yeah.
You gotta be here to play.
And then also Curtis is not in the committee anymore. What is it? Cirilo Graham is not in the committee anymore. And
Francisco.
Francisco, he's not here. I'm not sure how it works. Usually, from when I chaired business development, if you weren't there, then you would have to rank on the board at the board level, not
Right.
at the committee level.
Yep.
All right, we got a tie here. We got 2 4.4s.
don't know what they're using the light tower for. Light tower can be used for anything.
That
You can
changed.
borrow the one from the 34th.
Okay, so that changed. All right, so we have, I believe this is 2,
Wait, can we ask, is the 33rd still on the call?
3.
Domingo.
I believe Officer Jimenez was there, but he might have stepped away.
It says
1,
Maria
2,
Gonzalez.
3,
Someone
4.
Tell us what the light tower will be. If
The
that's
33rd is still on the call.
if that's still something that they have identified as a priority.
Going once, twice. I think they might have stepped away at this point. All right, so the rankings are up. Please check them out. I'll download it and send it to Chanel after we're done. As a
We
P-
still have a problem with the first and the second item on the expense.
Oh, yes. Expand bias. The only reason I didn't rank it number 1 was because of it was already like it already has a number to it. So I'm assuming it's already receiving certain level of funds. And therefore I ranked expend explicit bias because I feel like that hasn't been received anything yet. So that was my logic behind it. Let's see, 2.
Switching something.
All right.
That's
So
done.
there it goes. I think there it goes. 1,
I
2.
can change mine too.
No, it's okay. It's perfect there. All right. So is everybody okay with me downloading it and sending it to Chanel?
Yes.
Chanel, do you want it in PDF or in Excel?
Either or, it doesn't matter. Or both, sure.
All right, cool. So I'll send it as both so you could have options. All right, cool. So the next item in the agenda is any new business or old business?
Danielle, do we want to talk about our organization, about a potential resolution, maybe next month?
Can you remind me?
Okay. We spoke about producing a resolution that will ask the borough president to have, what did we say, 1 or 2? Probably more like 2. Previously, I'm sorry, say it again.
Sorry, I'm remembering now.
Okay. Previously incarcerated members of community board 12, like meaning to appoint, I should say, 2 members of community board 12 that were previously incarcerated. Not necessarily, they don't have to be on the public safety committee, but they should be on the board.
Like reserving those spots specifically for those.
Specifically for, right, for previously incarcerated. Right, and I know, Gabriela, we have 1, but I think we should have more than 1 on our community board, and it will be obviously great if other community boards will follow and have similar resolution.
So we can say maybe minimum of 2.
All right. Gabriela has her hand up.
Yeah, no, I was saying that obviously I'm one of them. I'm one of the 2. I mean, you know, yeah.
The point is to target previously incarcerated member of the community that coming back to the community, and it's just get them engaged. And I at least I feel that it's very important, and it's a different perspective. So we had a short conversation about it, Danielle and I, and we felt that could be a great resolution.
And where I was when you were discussing this, I don't remember. Did I?
No,
miss
this
the meeting?
was on the street.
Oh, no wonder. Because, you know, anything that has to do with that, obviously, for me, it's very personal.
Mhm.
And I take it to the other level, right? I take it to, in a way, to encourage and to motivate people, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's circumstances is different.
Mhm.
But the outcome obviously is what we need to share and encourage, right? And I am a perfect example of that. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, and I have no shame whatsoever.
And you are also a great legislator, so there
Oh.
shouldn't be any shame.
Thank you. So, gonna make me blush.
I don't
Anyway.
talk a lot. I don't talk a lot, but trust me, I know.
No, coming from you, I take it as a real, as a compliment. So, no, but thank you so much. No, but what I'm saying is, yeah, and I am, you know, I have no shame whatsoever to share my story, and serve, you know, my example as, you know, for others to know that that's not the end of the world. It's very painful, but you know, you can get there.
Danielle?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna add, thank you, OC, for bringing this up and reminding me. I just want to add that I think, you know, we want to make sure that the board is representative of the people that are living here. And we have, you know, many people living here who are previously incarcerated. And so I think, you know, for that reason, it's important. And I would say, in addition to engage, I would say more than engage, what I was thinking was, you know, making sure that we have their perspective, you know, because I think we want to make sure that we have different perspectives when we're making decisions for the people who live here. And I think that there's a lot of apprehension and stigma for people who have been incarcerated and they feel, you know, that these spaces are not for them. And I think we want to make sure that, you know, I think designating these specific spots lets them know, look, this is for you. And we value your experience, we value your perspective, and we, you know, that's why we created these spots for you.
It's also that it's possible that many of them don't even know that there is such thing as community board.
Mhm.
And so it's exposing them to a variety of things once they are back home. And it's important on variety of levels. You know, we mentioned here our perspective and we get to know the people, and it make things differently, you know, and that help people to get a line on a resume, maybe to get a job, or just, you know, it's like we're talking about programming for previously incarcerated individuals in our community, and that's, like, you can look at that as a program, I don't know, but it's just one more thing they can do.
It's also a stigma doesn't make a person makes a person, you know, and sometimes we get too caught up on stigmas without understanding that probably some of the best societal contributions came from somebody whose life wasn't as perfect as you would assume. And I think that's what it all boils down to. So we talking about starting to write a reso to Borough Press to actively recruit formerly incarcerated.
And reserve 2 spots.
Well, how would they? Wouldn't they have to, like? Ain't that city charter level at that point? Because it's like it just requires this a person who lives within the, like, that's the rule. Now, how she chooses them, it's up to her. You know, like, it's just making a recommendation that to consider that, because it's like, remember, she gets the guidance for the city charter is that they have to live within the area or have a business, right? How that guidance is put to work is based on her. Like, you know what? I for now, because
I think that's the whole point of what we're trying to do, though, right? Like, because they're already living here, and now we're asking to not just consider them, but we're asking them to like reserve a spot.
recruit them the same way they recruited high school kids.
I don't know. I think
Remember, because Aldrin came to us and was like, "Hey, we're actively recruiting high school kids," and now all the high school kids mostly left, but they had an active recruitment era for that. I don't know. We should check into it, Danielle. Just ask. Who would we ask for that?
I think the borough president's office. We can ask Natalie.
Yeah, we could ask Natalie. Just ask her, and I could text her as well. Ask her and be like, "Hey, how does it work if we if we develop a resolution urging the borough president to dedicate 2 community board spots to formerly incarcerated individuals
From our community.
Yeah, and if she could do it, we do the resolution. If we can't, we just play with the language. You know, this is politics.
There is one more thing we can do, you know. I don't know that it's within the legality of the charter, but maybe recruit one that currently.
Oh yeah, as a public member. Yeah.
Currently
incarcerated. What's up, Danielle? Your boy. What happened to your boy?
I mean,
remember? Would he be interested? Remember the basketball? One that liked basketball?
Oh, well, he's out right now.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I could see if there's a way for folks to be able to call. Well, you're talking about people who are currently on Rikers?
Anywhere, it does not have to be Rikers.
If they could participate in the meeting via Zoom and they have and they live in the district, I don't think they could be in Alaska for all we care, you know?
I'm confused. You're talking about people who are...
No, like anybody who's been formerly incarcerated that we know.
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, so that's what we're saying. We bring him on as a public member, right? That's what you're saying also, or no?
No, I kind of added another step to it. I said, yes, you're right. 2 people that previously were incarcerated and back in the community, but I think that will be very interesting to have at least one that is currently in jail, currently incarcerated, calling from jail to the meeting.
That is something, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is something that you need to check because I think that's not possible.
Yeah, that's not possible.
When you are in custody, when you are in prison, no matter what, if it's state, local, or federal, like I was in federal, right? You lose all your rights.
Yeah, but you still, there are some places where you can study, right? Why not be on the community?
That you can do, but
why not be on the community board?
What I'm saying is, yeah, what I'm saying is the technology is not the outside world. Like in prison, you don't have all the luxury unless they did something after I left 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's something different now, but it's not very
but remember,
easy to connect.
Let's not go for the home run. Let's just start simple, right?
Right.
And
I
then
guess
we'll
so.
see how that
I guess
goes.
2 previously, that would be good.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying not, but all I'm saying is that we have nothing to lose because we don't have that right now.
Yeah.
So what can happen? They will say no, or they will say it's not possible.
Explore.
It can happen. It can happen. I think, like, logistically, what would have to happen is we'd have to figure out how to pay for that phone call, but it can happen in theory. Yeah. It would be a phone call. It wouldn't be a Zoom.
Yeah. And another thing is, one of the smartest dudes, Alex, Danielle, homie's like Ford Foundation, formerly incarcerated. How many, like out there, like 20 years, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna invite him to the next.
Yeah, you should. I had his son for sports, but that's a redemption story. That's like, And now homie's like, you know, all over doing great work.
Yeah.
You know, so, but Alex doesn't live in the community anymore though, right? No.
But
Okay,
he went through Bard and he knows a lot.
yeah. All right, so we have that on the agenda. So I guess whose homework is that?
I think Gabriela should take
Mine?
a large part.
Who is it?
I mean,
So
Danielle and I,
you two have your conversation in the street,
Yeah, so
and now
put
you
it
want
into reality.
me
no, no,
to
no,
have the
no.
big part. What are you talking about? Did I miss
No.
something?
No, but
have to email
I don't want to left you out, right?
Aren't we just emailing the borough president?
Well, I'm not going to be out. Even if you
No, I don't
want
want
to
to.
out, people will say, "Oh, she's one."
Yeah.
Wait, aren't you just emailing the BP and asking or emailing Natalie and just
But
asking?
you guys are part of the committee as well. Yeah, I could do that. And I haven't left the spicy stuff because I like showing people that I encourage for others to do is when we start co-facilitating. Like I don't believe in one facilitator. Like eventually folks are gonna have to find out what their interests are and facilitate a meeting, because part of the problem in this board is people try to hold on to a position for too long. And that's why I had to, once I figured in business development that Francisco was getting the grasp of it, it was about him getting his feet wet on his own after that, you know, and really taking, like, these positions aren't meant for somebody to sit there for 20 years. It's like, you have to get other people ready. That's how continuity keeps going. If now all you're gonna have is a dinosaur in the throne, you know, and not to be ageist, by the way. It's just, I'm using it as a, what you call it?
Metaphor.
A metaphor.
Let
But
me-
yeah.
Let me just add that whoever is going to send that email, and I think I understand what you're saying, Domingo, but I think because you are now the chair, it would be good that you initiate the approach, I would say.
Well, yeah, I have
But-
relationships with all these people, but
Right,
bullshit all of
but the good thing is the current board of president, I'm sure she will be thrilled with the idea, because she was one of my #1 supporters when I went through what I went through. And the next board of president also was very close to me when all that happened. So what I'm saying is, I think that's something that to get the approval, I don't think it's going to be hard to get.
Why do we need their approval? I'm kind of lost on this. I mean,
No,
the
it's
community-
just to figure out if city is a language thing, right? Because now what we're saying is either we're recommending for 2 slots to be open, or are we suggesting for them to prioritize? So it's 2 slots versus prioritizing. That's the difference, you know?
Not
So it's
approval,
like-
but that's what I meant.
Yeah.
You know, right.
Yeah, so it's like whether we're allowed to suggest for 2 spaces to be for in that, like, for people who meet that criteria, or we suggesting for 2 people that meet that criteria to be considered.
Mhm.
You know, it's 2
Okay.
different, it's the semantics.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so any announcements? Could I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor or opposed? I appreciate y'all. Thank you all for your patience. I sent a very good email, and you had like I said, I'm all for feedback. One thing I can't stand is assumptions, right? If we're gonna base our debates, let's base it from a good place. You know, let's base it from understanding that regardless of the circumstance, everybody's a human being. You know, and I think most importantly is certain people have been marginalized, so their humanities have been impacted. So therefore, sometimes when we see certain things manifest, there's always a story behind the pain that others inflict on others. So I think it's important for us to be considerate and to always seek the full scope, and that's going to help us get to a better place, you know, and keep our humanity intact, because we're
Thank
not
you so
perfect,
much.
you know, and I think it's extremely important. All right. So have a good night. Thank you
Have a
to
good night.
33rd to 34th. We'll see each other next month.
Thank you so much, guys. Everybody get home safe.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
We are home.